10:03. Good morning. So I'm Dustin Rawls, Tennessee Higher Education Commission, with my colleague Mark Pativiok, the Direct Admissions Program Manager. So just to reiterate, I don't think anybody's come in since I did it, but we're going to record this. This is a webinar, and so typically you're not able to unmute, but you are going to be able to unmute and ask questions today. And we would love for you to unmute, turn your camera on, have a conversation with us, so this can be recorded and shared out with colleagues across the state about anything that you're interested in getting clarification on with regards to direct admission. We decided that we're not going to present like we have. I think that presentation is out there for any of you to view. You can go to our direct admissions communication page, and regardless of the type of institution that you're at, public school, private school, homeschool, any of those, there's a specific webinar catered to you. You can go back and watch the presentation itself. We may use some of the slides that we do in the presentation just to add visual clarity to what we're talking about. And so really what we're here for is to somebody to get the ball rolling with a question, or unless, Mark, if you want to offer anything that's happened in the last 3 or 4 days to get the ball rolling to get us started, that would be great too. So Mark, what you want to share
Well,
anything?
first of all, if you had uploaded a file prior to yesterday afternoon, you may have gotten an email from me yesterday trying to confirm that you got a GPA file or we received your GPA file. My initial email was the mail merge was very wrong, and I'm very sorry that I did that. And you may have gotten an email to the wrong school. I did hopefully make the correction, and you got a follow-up email with the correct school letting you know that you have submitted your GPAs. Um, and so very sorry about that. Very grateful to all of you who have uploaded your file. I wanted to make sure that you knew that we had it. And going into, Monday's data pool, that you could rest assured that we had it past just the confirmation email. So again, very sorry about the confusion and the wrong mail merge. But if you need confirmation that we did receive your GPA upload, please reach out to me. I can go and confirm that. Um, that being said, in terms of the GPA upload, um, the students have, or the deadline, the data pool deadline. So August 17th, the students have up to 11:59 p.m. To complete promise to be in that first data pool. We need the GPAs or updated GPAs or whatever it is in terms of the file done from you all by noon on the 17th. So um, August 17th at noon is the deadline for counselors to get us the GPA file. If you do not have that, feel free to reach out to me and I will send you the new file um, for the
Just for
upload.
clarity, hang on. Just for clarity, Mark, noon Central, 1 Eastern.
Correct.
Yep.
And
Sorry.
11:59 Central. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, but if you don't have the file, we can send it to you. And again, if you need to make an update, just add the students to the bottom of your file. No need to take any student that is transferred or who is no longer on your roster off your list, but add them to the bottom of your list and just resubmit. Any questions about the GPA upload timeline, that sort of thing at this point in time?
You're welcome to chat in. You're welcome to unmute, ask questions for clarity about the GPA upload, and then, we're also, the floor is open for any kind of Q&A that you want clarity on heading into direct admissions here shortly. Somebody needs to be brave enough to go first. I love the first person. I love. Come on. Okay. Just got an email from ETSU saying students should still apply via their app. So, yeah. So school, the answer is there's a big answer. There's multiple answers to that particular statement. Colleges are going to do what colleges do. Colleges are in the business of recruiting students. They're not going to stop communications to encourage students to apply to their institution directly outside of direct admissions. Just because they've partnered with us doesn't mean they're going to stop doing what they've traditionally done. So if a if there's so many layers of answers within this conversation. So if a direct admissions partner, let's just say ETSU, is sending communications to students wanting them to apply using their app, okay, that's fine. You have choices to make. As a counselor, your students have choices to make. Does that student, if they apply outside of direct admissions, is that going to cost them an application fee? And if it does, that's a decision that needs to be made. If ETSU is hosting an individual free application day or free application week that is before the students receive their direct admissions letters, you can consider having a student apply through that mechanism. If depending on all the different layers involved with this scenario and this conversation, you just need to use your best judgment. We using direct admissions are never going to encourage or insist a student wait on our letter to submit an application or wait to interact with our enrollment form until the first round of letters. That really kind of goes against strike while the iron's hot. That came up in a webinar earlier this week. If you have a student that's interested and the school is willing to waive an application fee, or that's not a big deal for a student to pay an application fee, all that information that is tied to a particular student and scenario needs to get filtered to come to the best overall decision for each individual student, right? There's no one blanket answer for all students in all scenarios. That seems like a long-winded answer. Mark, do you want to add anything to that, or is that about?
Yes, we're not your relationships with the institutions that you all already have. We're not trying to replace those. This is just another way to apply to a school. It's a way for students to be able to um, choose a bunch of schools all at the same time, um, simply cost effective, all the things. But we're not trying to replace the traditional application, and we're not trying to replace the relationships you all already have with your institutions. If you all have a day where the institutions come into your high school and they admit the students right there and they can do an application and all those things in school, we're not trying to replace that. This is just another opportunity for a student to be able to apply to a lot of schools very quickly, cost effectively. So you all know your students, you know your relationships with these institutions. If you have a good relationship, like Dustin said, and the student can apply with a B waiver and all that, or if they're willing to pay it, totally okay. Um, you know your students, you know what their needs are, support them in whatever way you see fit. Um, we're not telling people to wait. We're not telling people not to apply through the traditional application. Um, but we're also there for you to simplify the process for your student.
Uh, my friend, hey Leslie, friend Leslie Moody. So your thought is the same thought we have. Your biggest concern about not knowing if you've done anything correctly is the same concern that we have. And so I have to give much credit to Mark for he has literally built this thing from the ground up from conception to where we are today. And we all kind of live in a little state of fear about if we've done everything correctly because it's such an enormous thing. So, I'm going to say this, and so just everybody involved with direct admissions, from us to you to parents to post-secondary partners to whoever, extending a certain level and a hefty amount of grace in all directions is a very good thing. So we are doing all of this for the benefit of students, for the future of how Tennessee does college. It is not an easy lift, and it's not a quick one either. And so I'm going to echo you. We have the same fears about messing up, and we do it all the time. And so we will cover each other with grace and forgiveness as we go through this together. And we will all be okay. So your concern is also our concern. Um, Other chat questions or somebody bold enough to unmute and talk with
Um,
us? Oh, yep, go.
Somebody did put in the chat about Knox County. I have received the mass upload from the district for Knox County and MMPS schools. Um, that does not include charter schools. So if you are in MMPS or Knox County, you can reach out to me to see if your file has been updated or sent to me. But both MMPS and Knox have supplied me with the GPAs for the district. Just wanted to get that out there.
Okay, folks. We'll sit here for a little bit, but we're not gonna. Our intent is just to be here available to answer any questions that you have, and so.
Um, just to kill some of the silence, we have had some counselors reach out about if they should wait to the final pool so that their students get the best opportunities based off of new information that comes to us, or new ACT scores, or all of that kind of stuff. Again, you know your students, but just a bit of information around that. We've already received the scores from the July or the June national test. They are put into our system. If a student takes it in September, there's no guarantee that we're going to have that score by the time that November 2nd data pool hits. And so we don't know if there's going to be any more information because, again, ACT supplies us the ACT scores. And with that lag of scoring, getting them to us, they don't report them to us in the same timeline as the students. We're a little bit more delayed. And so if you're waiting for a new ACT score pass today, I don't know if that's truly going to help your students because at that point in time, we may still not have that score by the time the November 2nd pool happens. So the way we see it is the earlier the better. If they get a new ACT score, they can always send that score to the school and the school will adjust their merit-based aid based off of that. They're not just because the letter says $5,000 doesn't mean that's the limit. That just means that's a baseline of what, based off of the information that we have for that student, that's the baseline. As long as they maintain, that's what they should get. Now, there could always be more money that the student is eligible for. For instance, if they have a super score or a weighted GPA that's higher. Some of the institutions take super scores, and some of them take weighted GPAs, and they give more money. And so that's why we're saying that it's very important for the student to send transcripts and ACT scores or whatever scores they have to the schools, because ours is, again, just a baseline. There may be more out there, or if you have a student that's on the cusp of being into a school, or again, they can still send the new scores and new transcripts, and they will still get more than what they had, right? And so I don't know if waiting truly helps your student, because I don't know if by the time we get that information, the letters will already be mailed already. Like, I hope that makes sense. So as of right now, the only way our system cannot pull our system can't pull GPAs for this purpose out of transcript exchange. We haven't built that out. The only way that you can supply us GPAs for year two is through the file that we shared out. And again, if you don't have that file, I can share that with you. But as of right now, we are not able to use transcripts and transcript exchange to pull GPAs for the GPA worksheet.
In the Q&A, I saw a question. International students, out-of-state students can't complete the Tennessee Promise application, but I did include them on the GPA worksheet. They will or will not receive a direct admissions letter. So for clarity, they will or will not.
They will not, if they cannot apply for Promise, and if they're not a Promise state eligible Promise student, they will not get a letter.
I'm getting in text message because of the Microsoft issues about questions. Can the enrollment form, and I don't think you said this specifically, new data comes in, can the enrollment form be updated with new data if it comes in?
So we on our end are locked. The letter's locked. The enrollment form is locked in terms of like schools and all that. And so when a student, if we did get new information, say in December or after the October state test, we still can adjust our letters and adjust the enrollment page. If a student didn't have the school on their form or their letter, and they got a new ACT score, which makes them eligible, we would encourage you all to have your student apply through the traditional application. We know that can be hard, but again, this is just, we're trying to catch like a moving target, and this is just our snapshot of when we get the information and how everything lines up. This is our best way to hit that moving target. And so if a student gets a new ACT score or a new GPA, and they feel like they can now apply to that school, it doesn't mean that they can't. They can, but it will just have to be outside the direct admissions process.
How do we transfer information to colleges? Yeah.
So a student, when they go to choose or they go to the enrollment page, they can select up to 2 community colleges, 2 TCOTs, and up to 5 4-year institutions. And so when they select those schools, they'll answer a few more questions, and then that information comes back to us. So whichever schools they've chosen on the enrollment form will then get the students' information in FAST. They have a giant FAST file that they pull with the students' information. We get that information from the THEC student portal through the Tennessee Promise application, from ACT, the GPA from you all, and then the questions from the enrollment form. All that goes into the file for the institutions, and then the institutions reach out with whatever information on top of that they need. For instance, if a school has a faith-based agreement, they may have to acknowledge that, or the schools may ask for a major or attended program. If there are other questions that they need answered, they'll ask you there, and they will ask you for transcripts and ACT scores to be sent.
We cover this in our webinars, but just to reiterate, the intent for direct admissions is when the student interacts with our enrollment form to accept their spots, there are a number of institutions that need supplemental information from the student for the student to complete their application for admission. So when the student completes their enrollment, accepts their spots through our system, they will likely receive a link to a supplemental page for additional questions for that school. I say that to say this: the post-secondary institution should not direct or redirect a student to their full application for admission. And so if you see that as a counselor or whatever your particular role is, if you see a student has accepted their spot through direct admissions and they are receive a link or they are directed to complete the entire application for admission at an institution, we ask that you share that information with us so that way we can take action, because that's not the intent of what direct admissions is. And so just want to reiterate that while we have a couple of dead air moments.
Yeah, and great point, Dustin. And a bit of clarification. If your student has claimed their spot through direct admissions and the institution has them go to their traditional application, that's an issue. If your student hasn't claimed their spot and the school is like, hey, like ETSU is like, hey, at this point in time, go and do our traditional application, that is okay. So like just a different little variation between the two. So yeah, just for a little clarity there.
I'm going to pull up and share a screen right quick. So if a student is interested in more than 5 schools, they just choose number 6 and do a traditional app. So great question. Here's what I would recommend coming from an enrollment management background. If you have a student that is genuinely interested in more than 5 4-year schools, and they are only able to select the 5 through the portal, I would have the student reach out to the school and say that exact thing to the school. If they had been given the option to select 6 schools within the direct admissions enrollment form, they would have selected their school. Put the, not pressure, but give the school the opportunity to give a fee waiver to the student to submit an application outside of direct admissions, so that way they can see what the school may offer the student. All right. So yes, there is a limit to the number of institutions a student can select, but if you do have a student that genuinely has a 6th school they're interested in, that's going to be my recommendation, to have the student reach out to them and give that exact explanation and let the school, I'm somewhat confident the school would come through, but put that on the school to interact with the student at that point.
And yes, the student can only claim 5. They can't select any more than that. It won't allow them to click an extra nodule. But on top of that, like if you have a student that's like, I only want to go to this one school, we cannot reset this. We can't, like, once they have claimed all their, or once they've claimed their spots and submitted the form, we cannot go back and reset it for the student to be able to redo it or change a school. So again, it's, making sure that they're thinking through, even if they only want to go to one, if there's a couple other ones that they're kind of interested in, and I've worked with students, I know how they are. They're like, no, I'm going to this one school and this one school only. And then 2 days later, they're like, oh, I wish I would have selected a different school. They cannot go backwards. So once they've submitted their form, if they want to apply to another school that was on their letter, they're going to have to go through the traditional application.
Where can we find these webinars? I put in the link where you can find the webinars. I will actually just very quickly take over and show you. So this is our direct admissions. So you can get to our collegefortn.org. Underneath a number of our drop-down drop-down menus, you'll see them. But here's direct admissions. You can click direct admissions, and then once it gets to our top level page, our landing page, you can see communications here. This communications page is what I dropped into the chat. On our communications page, there's examples of our letters, and then here's all the links to everything we could imagine that you could benefit you with regards to direct admissions. The bottom left is our video section. After the recording that we have, I'm going to add a video here that says direct admissions Q&A, so that way anybody can come back and watch that Q&A session. But there's a number of things on our site, our communication site, from the presentations that are in our webinars to our one-pagers, our info sheet, senior checklist, all kinds of things for you to have access to be able to use for your students. In addition to that, I mentioned this in the webinar, but I am just going to come back around and circle on to it. We have College Application Exploration Month, which is traditionally the month of September. So the letter data, the data for the letter pool, August 17, we think it's going to be about 20 business days from data pool to letters in hand, approximately, which means students should be receiving their letters, we think, around the week of September 14th through the 18th, around week 3 of College App and Exploration Month. So we're asking, if we're not asking anybody to wait specifically to interact with their letter. If they get the letter and they're excited, they want to do it, please do it. But we are asking schools to create targeted programs, activities, whatever you want to call it, for that 4th week of September for Claim Your Spot. So that is the corporate formal school mechanism that you have in place. If a student has not previously interacted with their letter, bring the letter to the school, have them do it in a more formal way where you can congratulate them, balloons, cookies, social media, pictures. If your school even has phones that you can do that anymore, or however you do that, you can dream up all the ways that you want to congratulate a student for claiming their spot in college that 4th week of September. All right. I just don't want to mention those two things. So, and I'll also drop this in the chat for you all to have this as an overview of what you could do for College Application and Exploration Month. Other questions? Got it, Jerry. If I had a student talking to me at the beginning of the webinar and I had confirmation that his Teen Promise was submitted, but he's not on my FAST list, do I ask Eric about that? Sure, I don't want to miss the deadline. Yeah, ask Eric. There is, if depending on when it was submitted, it's not immediate. And so if you're pulling a promise report, those tend to be less accurate than pulling a FAFSA report. So if you pull a FAFSA report, it has more accurate information with regards to Tennessee Promise applications, and you can double check that one. But yes, you can always reach out to Eric to double check fast that we've received a Tennessee Promise application, so that way you receive confirmation, Jennifer. Do they receive confirmations when they upload their GPAs, Mark?
They should get an email from the system. Jennifer, did you upload in the past, say, 12 hours?
Okay.
Gotcha. Yes, you will get a confirmation from the website saying thank you for submitting. And then I've been trying to go back and send a message. That was kind of what I talked about at the beginning in terms of the mail merge and the mess up there. I'm trying to go back and get you all an email straight from me letting you know that we've gotten that. And so just so you know, I'm a little swamped with moving the GPAs and getting all the things aligned. So I hope to get you that when you send it over. But you'll get an immediate response from the system, but the response from me saying yes for sure. But I do have to go through each file to ensure that they're correct, and that the CEB code matches the school, that matches the school that you put in. So it's, yes, there's a checks and balance system. Yeah.
I will throw in everything Mark just said is absolutely accurate, except right now our agency is unable to send out emails. So they're all getting blocked, and they're working on it right this minute. So just be aware that everything you said is accurate. It is true. Just if something happens and you submit and I don't know about our automated systems, if they're different than our manual emails, if they're getting bounced back too, but at present we are unable to send out anything. We can send it, it's just not going to go through. So that may be a thing, and that just double check with us if it is the thing. They're working on it. I haven't seen an email come through say that it's been fixed. Maybe it has while I've been on the webinar, but
I haven't gotten one from our system people, but I have gotten a lot of emails
So I
since.
think that's opened up. Yeah, I know. I saw the email flood come through. So we're receiving them now. I just don't think we can send them out yet. So, all right, folks, what else can we help with or answer for clarity, for conscious, for confidence? We're not going to hold you hostage. So that's not our intent. So we're happy to hang out here as long as you all have something we can help with. But if there's really nothing more, if we've got to the end of our time together, we're happy to give everybody some time back. All right, I'm picking up that that's where we're at. I think all of you have, Mark, let's drop our addresses in there. I think all of you have our email addresses, but just in case you don't, this is Mark and I. You're welcome to reach out to us directly for any follow-up regarding today or direct admissions as a whole. And so we thank you for your time, and we're going to cut everybody loose at this point. We appreciate you being here. If anybody needs to hang back for a minute or two to ask an individual question, we'll hang out in here as long as, just about another minute. But we appreciate your time today. Thanks so much for being here, everybody. And we will excited about direct admissions. Thank you so much. Yeah. Good old technology.
Yeah, I'm all thumbs today, man. Just
Yep.
past 2 days.
We'll get through it. All right. I
Thank you,
think.
Jessica.
All right. We're going to officially end it. Thank you and appreciate you. We're done. Thanks, everybody.